I'm the proper cuber, and today I'll be showing you how to do the diagonal sort PLLs. This will be followed up by a finger tricks video of all the PLLs. And these are also going to be the types of videos I'm going to be trying to release every Saturday, where I make tutorials or unboxing videos, setup videos, things like that. Bigger videos, more lengthy videos. Not necessarily unboxing videos, more setup videos, but I'll be covering yperms, vperms. Let me just show that yperm again because you didn't show the other two faces. Eperms and the nperms. Okay, now let's get into the video. And we're going to start off with yperm. The algorithm is f r u prime r prime u prime r u r prime f prime r u r prime u prime r prime f r f prime. And to recognize it, you look for 2 bars and 1 piece that doesn't match any of the other pieces, these pieces. And how I memorize it, it's the last part of tperm where you do f and then that. So it's that last part, and that part is, let me just solve it again. Sorry. Okay, so that part is f r u prime r prime u r u r prime f prime, which is just the last part of tperm. And then the rest is sexy move sledgehammer. Next is vperm, which is recognized by this big block here, and some people might confuse it with yperm at holding it at this angle. However, you can tell it's not yperm because these two don't match. These two colors don't match. And there are plenty of vperm algorithms, some with rotations. The one I use is rotationless and flows really smoothly and only has one reloop at the beginning. And that one is r prime u prime r d prime d r prime u and d prime r2 u prime r2 d r2. And the reason I use this algorithm is, once again, because it has one regrip and it flows really smoothly. And how I memorize it is through the first trigger. I memorize it as prime sexy move because it's a sexy move, but all the R moves are prime moves. Then I memorize that as taking this corner up with R, D prime, putting it back down, D, move, and then another R prime to make this shape right here. Then I do U and U, D prime, R2, move this here, R2, move the down face, so, and then fix the cube with another R2. And now, yperm. In the last video, I said nperm was the worst. Let me just move that cube out of the way. It's not. This is the worst PLL. I was 100% wrong. This is a horrible PLL. It can easily ruin your PB because of the recognition. It has no bars, which makes it more confusing to recognize than most PLLs. And the corners, it's swapping the corners, and it's easy to mess up on. And then if you do mess up on it, you get an hperm, which is a nice algorithm, but you have to do another algorithm. And so it's still, but it is easy to learn, that's for sure. I'm just going to get into it. The algorithm is x r u prime r prime d r u r prime d prime r u r prime d r u prime r prime d. You recognize it by no bars whatsoever, and you do need to know when to rotate up, and that's when these two colors do not match this color. So when the two corner colors do not match the edge color, that's when you rotate up. And it is a really straightforward algorithm, easy to learn, easy to memorize, and easy to execute, but your recognition it's the worst out of all of them. It's not any good recognition. And I memorize it as r u prime d RU R prime twice with a D prime in between, and then another D, the first part with RU prime R prime and D prime. It's pretty easy to memorize. It's just 3 move triggers, and then you're doing one at the beginning, the RU R prime, and then each time before the next trigger, just do the D face. First time alternating. First time it's D, next time D prime, D, then D prime again. One last time, RU R prime D, RU R prime D prime, RU R prime D, RU R prime D prime. And now the nperms. I'm just going to hold it this way. And let's start with nperm. I'll just move that one to the side for now. And the algorithm is RU R prime U prime, RU R prime F prime, RU R U prime R prime F, R2 U prime R prime U2 RU R. And to recognize it, you just see a bunch of bars, and it's all facing towards the right. And this one in particular, it's pretty simple. It's just RU R prime U, Jperm, U2, and insert this pair. And then 1 second. And bperm, this one is harder to execute, still pretty straightforward, and it is R prime U R U prime R prime F prime U prime F R U R prime F R prime F prime R prime U prime R. How I recognize it is, once again, all bars, but this time they're going towards the left. And how I memorize it is, once again, giving the name to the triggers. And how I memorized it is R prime, inverse sexy move, which is U, R, U prime, R prime. Then F prime, moving this corner over here, F, moving this corner down with R, U, R prime. And then hedge, or the reverse to sledgehammer, which is F, R prime, F prime, R. And then U, moving this, U prime, moving this pair back, and then R. And that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Please leave a like and subscribe. And as always, remember to wear a bike helmet when you're riding a bike so you don't break your head like I broke my arm. And bye for now.